So welcome to Jumbo IS and welcome to our lecture series called Daily News in Shorts. In this lecture series, we cover a particular day's current affairs in a short span of time. Now, needless to say this, just watching this lecture would be job half done. Because just after watching it, you need to revise it as well. Otherwise, these current affairs would quickly skip your memory. And you can revise these current affairs from the notes provided by us on our Telegram channel. The link to our Telegram channel is provided in the comment section below. So please do not forget to revise these current affairs. Otherwise, you won't be able to remember them till your exams. And that would be a catastrophe. Okay? So please do not forget to revise these current affairs. That's my humble request. All right. Enough of the introduction. Let's straight away jump into the lecture. But first, let's take a look at the list of topics that we shall cover today. Okay? So let's begin. So daily current affairs, 8th of December, Monday, and here is the topics list. Number one on this list is free fall in rupee. Rupee is in free fall. It breached the $1 is equal to 90 rupee mark. So what are the factors behind this falling rupee? Okay, we'll talk about this. Then second topic is related to Hindu rate of growth, a term coined in 1980s signifying low growth rate of India. Recently, Prime Minister referred to this term, criticizing the previous establishment. Okay, so what is Hindu rate of growth, and is India going by this Hindu rate of growth? Okay, we'll talk about this. It's a very controversial term because somehow you made economics communal. We'll talk about it. Okay. Third topic is related to hate speech regulation in India. Recently, Karnataka came out with a bill for regulating hate speech in India. And Karnataka said that the national laws, central laws in India are not adequate. Therefore, we are coming up with a new law. Karnataka would be the first state to bring in a law for hate speech at state level. Okay. So we'll talk about this. Then, well, recently, Defense Minister Rajnath Singh inaugurated a few defense-related projects, infrastructure projects in eastern Ladakh. So we will talk about infrastructure projects in Ladakh and how it enhances our defense preparedness vis-a-vis China. Okay, and in the end, we'll talk about the recent rate cut by RBI. Okay, so these are the 5 topics. Topic number 1 is related to economics portion of your UPSC syllabus. Topic number 2 again related to economics. Topic number 3 related to polity portion of your UPSC syllabus. Topic number 4 related to, well, defense and security portion. And topic number 5, economics portion of your UPSC syllabus. As you can see, today is an economics heavy lecture. Okay, so pay close attention because economics can be a little complicated or conceptual. Let's not use the word complicated. It can be conceptual. Therefore, you need to involve more neurons in your brain. All right. So these are the 5 news items. Let's start discussing them one by one, starting with topic number 1, and that is rupee in free fall. You must have been reading about this, okay? Rupee is continuously declining vis-a-vis dollar, continuously. Now, generally, when rupee falls, the usual suspect is, or the factor that is to blame is rise in imports, okay? Basically, rupee falls because of current account of our balance of payment. But this time around, current account is not to blame. It's the capital account. Now, the question some of you might be asking is, who are not familiar with these terms, what is current account, what is capital account, what is balance of payment, and why is rupee in free fall? These are the questions that are cropping up in the minds of newbies, people who are new to economics. So I'll try my best, okay, to you newbies. I'll try my best to explain these concepts to you newbies, okay? But those who have covered economics, you would be able to understand this. Clear? Nonetheless, in case you have any doubts, do ask those doubts. All right, so let's begin. Let's talk about free fall in rupee. Why is rupee falling vis-a-vis dollar? So rupee in free fall. So first of all, what was in the news? India faces a persistent structural current account deficit. India always has current account deficit, okay? Almost always has current account deficit. And because of which, there is depreciating pressure on rupee. But this time around, current account deficit is not to be blamed. It's the capital account that is to be blamed. Okay, now both current account and capital account are part of balance of payment. So let's revise. For those who have already covered this, let's revise balance of payment. And those who are new to this, I'll try to explain balance of payment, current account, capital account in the simplest possible terms. But you have to be patient. If you don't understand anything, be patient. When we'll cover economics in our courses, you'll understand everything. Okay, all right. So let's talk about balance of payment. So basically, balance of payment is a list of India's transactions with the rest of the world. So if any Indian is importing anything from abroad, that is an international transaction. Any Indian who's exporting anything, international transaction. Any Indian living abroad sending money to their family, That is an international transaction. Similarly, when we receive foreign investments, foreign borrowings, NRI depositing money in India, all of these are foreign transactions or international transactions. All these transactions are listed down by RBI in balance of payment. So remember this, balance of payment is a sheet maintained by RBI, listing down all international transactions that Indians, whether it's Indian government or private citizens, Indians are having with the rest of the world. Okay. Now, this entire balance of payment is divided into two parts: current account and capital account. Okay. Now, in current account, there are further two parts: trade balance, invisibles balance. Okay. Trade balance, invisible balance. Trade balance includes all the imports and exports. So if you're importing something, that is listed in trade balance. If you're exporting something, that is listed in trade balance. Remember, only trade in goods, not services. Only trade in goods, physical goods, is listed in trade balance. Now, when you import something, you are paying someone abroad, right? So money is getting out of India. So there is a negative sign over here. When you export something, money is coming into India. So there is a positive sign. Okay. Now, if negative sign is more than positive sign, we say there is trade deficit. If positive sign is more than negative, then we say there is trade surplus. Simple. So this is trade account. Then there is invisibles. In invisibles, there is services trade. When you are exporting or importing services minus exporting services plus. Then many Indians are working abroad. They send money back to India to their family members. That is remittances. Okay, remittances, if they are coming in India, they are positive. Clear? Now, if overall in current account minus sign is more, then it's current account deficit. If plus sign is more, then it's current account surplus. Now, remember this thing about India. In India, well, we always have trade deficit. Okay, because our imports are more than our exports. But sometimes our invisibles balance is in such high surplus category that it compensates for this trade deficit. But rarely this trade deficit is higher than invisible surplus. In invisibles, we are in surplus. In trade, we are in deficit. Mostly trade deficit is more than invisible surplus. So overall invisible surplus is not able to compensate for trade deficit, and we run current account deficit. And this puts depreciating pressure on rupee. Okay, so remember this. When money is coming into India, plus from anywhere, rupee goes up. When money is getting out of India, whether it's trade, invisibles, capital account, anywhere, well, rupee is in free fall. Rupee depreciates. Okay. Now, because we have always run current account deficit, this has constantly put depreciating pressure on rupee. Okay, rupee has always fallen. But in our capital account, our surplus is so high that sometimes it compensates for current account deficit, and we run an overall balance of payment surplus, and overall balance of payment surplus sometimes appreciates rupee. Okay. So like usual, current account was in deficit this year also. But generally, capital account compensates for this deficit and rupee doesn't fall. But this time around, there was fall in capital account also. And because there was fall in capital account, it couldn't compensate current account deficit. And because of that, there was heavy deficit in balance of payment. Rupee went into free fall. So this time around, it's not current account, but the capital account that has costed rupee. Okay, you understand the overall picture now? Now let's talk about the basics of current account, capital account. Okay, what is there in capital account? Let's talk the basics. So current account has merchandise trade, okay, trade in goods and services, and invisibles, which include services, remittances, and transfers, like World Bank giving a grant to India. Now, merchandise trade deficit has widened dramatically over the last 10-20 years. Invisible surplus has offset this. So, merchandise trade deficit has risen, but it has been compensated a little because of invisible surplus. This balance has kept CAD manageable. Otherwise, if we would have run deficit in invisibles account also, our current account deficit would have been huge. But this trade deficit is compensated a little by invisible surplus. Though overall we run a deficit, but still it is manageable. But overall current account deficit is managed by capital account surplus. So what is in capital account? Foreign investments. So foreign investments, whether it's FDI or FPI coming into India, that is money coming into India, capital account surplus. Then we borrow money from abroad, external commercial borrowings, or sometimes borrowing from World Bank, IMF. This is money coming into India. This is surplus. Then NRIs in outside India, non-resident Indians, they deposit their savings into Indian banks. This is surplus. And many other investments into India. All of these things coming into India compensate current account deficit, because all of this money coming into India brings capital account surplus. Okay? But this time around, there was a significant fall in foreign investments. In fact, existing foreign investments were getting out of India. So there was deficit. So because of this capital account deficit and current account deficit, rupee is in free fall. Okay, this is the reason. Capital account crisis. Net foreign capital inflow hit a 16-year low. Both FDI and FPI, long-term foreign investment, short-term foreign investment, which is FPI, both were down. This was the reason. Okay, make sense? Now do read the details from the notes. Your notes are exhaustive. Do read the details, okay? But the overall gist of the matter, I have explained it to you. I hope you understood it. Though if there are any doubts, use the comment section to ask those doubts. I'm always there, happy to entertain all your doubts. Your understanding is more important, okay? So ask your doubts, use the comment section wisely. All right. Now let's move on to second news item, and that is the Hindu rate of growth. Now, you know, in 1980s, there was this professor, economics professor, Raj Krishna. He basically gave a concept called Hindu rate of growth. Why? Because since independence till the 1980s, India was growing, economically growing at an average rate of 3.5% per year. So India's GDP was growing round about at 3.5% per year. That was pretty low, okay, since independence. Now, people were asking, why is that? Now, Professor Raj Krishna, who was at Chicago University also, gave a concept. That concept was that because India is majority Hindu and there are certain cultural aspects related to Hinduism, and because of those cultural aspects, people cannot grow. India's economy cannot grow. For example, he gave one thing. He talked about caste system. Because of caste system, there are certain castes who are by birth forced by society to work in certain occupations. So there is lack of labor for other occupations. You understand the point? So because of that labor shortage for other occupations, well, India doesn't grow. Then he also used some line from the scriptures that Indians consider, or upper caste consider, crossing the 7 seas as caste pollution. So because of this, India does not undertake that much sea trade. So because of that, Indians cannot grow economically. So he gave so many religious reasons, cultural reasons, and said that Indians are destined to grow at 3.5%, and the main culprit is, well, their culture, Hindu culture. And hence he coined the term Hindu rate of growth. But the irony is, just after he coined this term, well, India started growing dramatically. Just after he said this, it's like commentators curse, okay? The cricket commentators curse. Whenever you say the player is not playing well, he hits a 6. Just like that, well, India started growing dramatically. And this was recently pointed out by Prime Minister Modi at Hindustan Times Leadership Summit, criticizing the previous establishment, saying you entertain professors like these. They blamed our religion for our lack of economic performance. Whereas lack of economic performance was the responsibility of Nehruvian economics or Indira Gandhian economics. Okay, so he was basically scoring a political point. That's Prime Minister Modi. He's also leader of BJP. So that was the reason. But we will talk about this concept. Okay, some details about this concept because it was really important and a question can be asked. All right, so let's talk about this. Hindu rate of growth. So what was in the news? India's Hindu rate of growth refers to the approximately 3.5% average annual GDP growth rate from 50s to 80s, coined by economist Raj Krishna. Okay, PM Modi critiqued it at HT Leadership, Hindustan Times Leadership Summit. Okay, and the irony is, just after he said this, growth accelerated. Okay, averaging 5.8% from 81 to 91, and then after that 7%, 6%. So India grew substantially just after the coinage of this term. So basically, it's a criticism of sorts. Now, what is the origin of this term, Hindu growth, rate of growth? So Raj Krishna, a Chicago-trained economist, used the term to underscore Steady 3.5% growth amid government changes, wars, famines, viewing it as a cultural inherent. So India was not growing because India was suffering. The 60s, well, India faced two wars. Then in 70s, there was 1971 war, and in 1975 there was political instability because of emergency and all. So India had two bad decades, and famines was also there. Until Green Revolution, we had food insecurity. There were so many challenges post independence. India still managed 3.5% growth rate. Okay, but Raj Krishna said that the reason for this low growth rate is maybe something about Indian Hindu culture. This is something that now people object to. It diverged from Congress ideologies. Krishna later praised Nehru era capacity building in metallurgy. So later Krishna rechanged and said, though no Nehruvian economics was great, the Hindu label lacked negative intent as per some experts. Some people say that Raj Krishna was not blaming Hindu religion. Okay, he was just blaming Indian practices. But well, many objected to this communal coloring of economic phenomena. Okay, how can you give economic performance a communal color? There was a lot of criticism. And just after his stance, well, India grew dramatically. There, I have shared a table also where you can see India's growth rate, average annual growth rate in different periods. During British times, it was under 1%. During Nehruvian times, it was 4.1. During 56 to 75, 3.4. Then after that, the growth stepped up. Okay, we escaped the Hindu rate of growth, all of that, right? So this is a table, study this table, and there are some reasons also. Okay, so yeah, that's about it. That's all you need to know about this concept. All right, now let's talk about another controversial proposal by Karnataka government, and that is hate speech regulation in India. Okay, now listen to me carefully. Hate speech in India is criminalized, is penalized. There is criminal action against hate speech. Now, criminal action by police can only come if there is a law that bans hate speech, right? Now, to regulate hate speech in India, there are laws, but all of those laws are central laws. Okay, there is one particular law that criminalizes hate speech, and that was Indian Penal Code, IPC. And as you all know, in 2023, IPC was replaced by BNS. Okay, Bharatiya Nyaya Sanhita. Simple. So what was IPC now is BNS. So remember this. In case of hate speech is criminalized in India by a central law called BNS, Bharatiya Nyaya Sanhita. Okay, but regulating speech is a concurrent subject. State governments can also make laws on this. But so far, no state government made a law on this. Okay, it was a central law. But now Karnataka government has come out with a bill, becoming the first state to bring out a law against hate speech. And the reason given by Karnataka government is that central laws are inadequate, they are old, therefore we need to fill in the gaps that were there in BNS with respect to hate speech. Now, what are those gaps they are talking about? And why is this alarming? Because if Karnataka will do this, then other states would follow. Okay, so let's talk about this. First, we'll talk about the central laws that regulate hate speech, and then we'll talk about how Karnataka law will be different from central law. Simple. Okay, so let's talk about this. Hate speech regulation in India. So what was in the news? Karnataka's hate speech and hate crimes prevention bill is India's first state level legislation. Remember this. Explicitly targeting hate speech, proposing 2 to 10 years jail term, collective liability for organizations. So if a member of an organization commits to hate speech, the entire organization can also be penalized. Company, NGO, okay? That is something that people fear, that you are going to basically penalize the entire organization for the actions of one person who happens to be a member of that organization, right? Addressing the absence of formal definition. So they say that, well, the national laws, central laws like Bharatiya Nyaya Sanhita, they are inadequate. And that is why we have to come out with our own bill or law. Now, first let's talk about what are the provisions regulating hate speech in Bharatiya Nyaya Sanhita. What are those provisions? And how can Karnataka say that they are inadequate? Okay, so let's talk about central laws, current legal system. So we are going to talk about BNS. So there are 3 sections of BNS that regulate hate speech. So section 196, a hate speech which promotes enmity between groups. Okay, enmity between caste groups, linguistic groups, religious groups. Okay, so any hate speech against a particular religion, caste, anything, that is 196. conviction rate is very low in this. I mean, if a person gives a hate speech, he is booked, produced in court. He somehow is able to, 80% of the times, he's somehow able to prove that this was not hate speech and he goes scot-free. Then section 299, outraging religious feelings. So if you basically mock the religion, okay, this is there. Section 353, inciting offenses against state or community. If you gave a speech basically instigating people to destroy public property, there are politicians like that. You gave a speech, destroy public property, destroy this community, destroy their temples, all these things. So this is section 353. Clear? So this is the thing. Now these are cognizable offenses with up to 3-year punishment, but prioritize harmony over distinct hate speech penalties. Now courts, as per this law, how do courts decide whether this is a hate speech or not? Courts say that if that particular speech led to public disorder, public riots, okay, all public disorder basically, okay, if this leads to violation of public order, if a particular hate speech. So I'll give you a difference. Let's suppose I gave a hate speech against a religion, but that didn't lead to, or that couldn't cause public disorder. Okay, I gave a hate speech against a particular religion, but that didn't cause public order, public disorder. So courts would take a lenient view on that and maybe even not punish me. Because the lens from which court decided whether it was hate speech or not was whether this can cause public disorder. Now this is something Karnataka government objected to. Karnataka government said that no, we will penalize hate speech per se also. Even if that hate speech is not causing public disorder, still we will categorize it as hate speech and we will punish you. So they have expanded the definition of hate speech. Plus, BNS only focuses on hate speech against a particular caste group, religious group, right? It doesn't talk about hate speech against a particular gender identity, okay, transgender identity. All these things are not covered under BNS. Karnataka law expands on that as well. Okay, so it focuses away from public order, plus the definition is expanded. Sexual preferences, gender identity, all these things. Okay, so I hope you understood the difference. Now, in your notes, I have also given a table where we compare all the existing central laws and the Karnataka bill. Okay, this is a small table just so that you are able to memorize certain facts. Okay, so whenever you are revising, whenever you're doing a quick revision, just take a look at this table and you will memorize the key facts, key provisions, all these things. Okay, so this table is shared in your notes. Do check it out. And we shall quickly shift our focus to next news item, and that is infrastructure projects in Eastern Ladakh or Ladakh. Now, the thing is, recently, Defense Minister Rajnath Singh inaugurated certain defense projects in Ladakh. Now, Ladakh is significant for our defense forces. Why? Because in Ladakh, there is line of actual control, which divides India and China. Now, China is building a lot of infrastructure projects, roads, bridges on their side. And infrastructure projects are important because if you don't have a good road, then how will you move all your troops to the border? India needs good infrastructure, good airfields, good roads, bridges, so that we can move our troops on time whenever there is a warlike situation. Okay, so for the past 5-6 years, Indian government has been focusing heavily on building all-weather highways, tunnels, all these things. Okay, now recently, Defense Minister Rajnath Singh inaugurated a particular tunnel known as Shyok Tunnel, which will be very instrumental for our defense preparedness, movement of troops, all-weather tunnel. Okay. Now, because during this inauguration speech, he also highlighted certain other infrastructure projects. So we will talk about those infrastructure projects which were recently built in Ladakh to enhance Indian Army's defense preparedness against China. Okay. And remember, all these infrastructure projects are built by Border Roads Organization, BRO. So remember this name, BRO also. Okay. And let's talk about these infrastructure projects. All right. So infrastructure projects in Ladakh. So what was in the news? So Defense Minister Rajnath Singh inaugurated 125 BRO projects worth rupees 5,000 crores, including the strategic 92-meter Shyok Tunnel on Durbuk-Shyok Daultabeg Oldie Road. This is a very important road, very important highway, Daultabeg Oldie in Eastern Ladakh. Because of this highway, we are very well prepared to fight against China along the LSE. Okay. Now, Shyok Tunnel basically enhances India's connectivity to this highway, Daultabeg Oldie highway. Okay. Let me show you this. So as you can see, this is, well, LAC. Okay, this area is LAC. You can see this road. I hope you can see this. This particular road is Daultabeg Oldie Road. Now, this particular stretch is Durbuk-Shyok stretch. which connects Indian troops from Leh to this Daulta Beg Oldie Road so that we can quickly go to LAC. Otherwise, we had to wait for helicopters and aircrafts to take our troops to there. We can't take our troops in bulk through aircraft. So this highway is important. I hope you got this. Okay. Now about those infrastructure projects. So these projects, 28 roads, 93 bridges, 4 others span Ladakh, J&K, 7 states, 7 sister states also, and many other areas. BRO is building these projects worth 5,000 crores. Okay, so many states are being covered in these projects, but the most significant one is Ladakh. Now, the purpose of these projects: enhance all-weather connectivity along LAC, line of actual control, for rapid troop mobilization. Okay, amid harsh winters, avalanches, snowfall. The Shyok Tunnel reduces air maintenance dependency. Otherwise, you have to transport troops via aircrafts. So it reduces that. In challenging terrain, boosting security, mobility, logistics, and tourism also. You can boost tourism through these highways. So all of this is there. Defense Minister also unveiled. So on this inauguration speech, he also inaugurated Galwan War Memorial. Okay. You know what happened in 2020? Clashes between Indian and Chinese troops, and 20 Indians died because of this. So we fought bravely. So there is a war memorial for that. And Defense Minister also invoked Operation Sindoor and its success in that speech. But nonetheless, our focus is on these infrastructure projects. Okay. Just remember this highway, Daulta Beg Oldie Highway, very important. Without this, we would be not at all prepared to fight the Chinese. Chinese would have come inside. Okay. Now, other projects in Ladakh that are significant. So number one is this Shyok Tunnel. Then because of this Shyok Tunnel, now Durbuk, which is close to Leh, is connected to Daulta Beg Oldie Road. So Durbuk Shyok Daulta Beg Oldie Road, DSDBO Road. This is our key lifeline. But what if China disrupts this key lifeline? So we have built an alternative road also, which is Sasoma Saserla Brangsa Gapshan DBO Road. So this is this red one. This is the alternative route. If this is disrupted, so we come from Shyok and this gets disrupted. So we have another approach to reach here. So this is the alternative route. And there is a Migla Pass Road also, a road that connects two areas via a pass. So these are the names of certain infrastructure projects that were recently built by BRO. Okay, enhancing our defense preparedness. Okay, enhancing our defense preparedness in this region. All right. And now let's move on to last news item, and that is rate cut by RBI. Now it is a very small topic, so I won't spend that much time. Okay. Recently, RBI announced its monetary policy decision and it decided to cut repo rate by 25 basis points. Now it was expected, but we need to know what drove RBI to take this decision. RBI could have decided not to cut repo rates. RBI could have decided to increase repo rates. So what were the reasons why RBI decided to cut repo rates? Okay, we'll quickly talk about this. Rest of the information is given in your notes. So let's quickly talk about this. So rate cut by RBI. So RBI cut repo rate by 25 basis points, which means 0.25%. Now this will boost liquidity in the market, cut interest rates overall, money supply would increase and growth would be boosted. Okay. Now what were the drivers? When you cut repo rate, there is a risk that inflation would become high. But inflation in India is already so low. Therefore, you can afford to cut rates. Then we have high growth also. So but there is high growth, but we are still facing risks from American tariffs, exports. So we need to support growth. Best way to support growth is reduce interest rates. Okay. Then government has already cut taxes. So government has done its part to increase growth rate. Government cannot do anything else to increase growth rate. So what should be done if we want to increase growth rate? Government has done its part. Government has exhausted its ammunition. Now it's the job of RBI to boost rate. Because there was limited fiscal space, government cannot do anything more. So RBI had to step in. Okay. And we reduced repo rate only by 25 basis points. So there is future ammunition. Plus, there is this term that is thrown around, Goldilocks zone. Goldilocks zone is a situation of an economy where inflation is low, growth rate is high, and unemployment is also low. Very good situation. We are in Goldilocks zone situation also. Okay. So these are some of the things that you should know, though you'll get more information after you read the notes. Okay. And that would be all. With that, we conclude today's session. So thank you so much for watching, everyone. And I'm sure it has added value to your preparation. But it will add more value. Please do not forget what I said in the beginning. Revise this lecture from the notes. Okay? So on that note, I shall conclude today's session. We'll see you next time with another set of news items. Thank you, everyone.